Our speaker for today is Midhu Koshy, Regional Head, South and Consultant, Information Security, Mahindra SSG. Welcome Midhu with some claps please. I know it's a long day, but some claps would really help.
Hello and good evening all of you. I hope you can hear me well. So my topic for the day is how has the role of CISOs changed in the era of cloud computing? I would like to make this slightly interactive, especially because we have a little less of a quorum and it's almost time for us to go home. And I would like to ensure some kind of attentiveness to this topic. So could I, at different points in time, pause and ask you what you feel about this particular topic? Okay, going on to my views, I think the role of CISOs is totally evolving in the cloud computing scenario. It's not really all about compliance and how not to adopt and adapt new technologies. It's not about ifs and buts. It's about when to adopt and how to adopt and what is the way forward. It's not really about technology centricity. Information security cannot do without the word security or a focus on security, but it's not really all about technology centricity. It's really about operations, it's about technology as well, and all about people. So in the subsequent slides, I have tried to pinpoint some of these areas which I think is important and pertinent to me as a CISO, okay, both from a technology angle and an operations angle with an emphasis on people as well. Multi-tenancy. So all of our data on the cloud is actually shared, or rather the architecture is really shared with other clients or other customers as well. Obviously as a CISO, when I'm moving into the cloud, some of the important things that would bother me, that would be of importance to me is how would my system performance be impacted by that of my clients? What if there's an overload? What if there is a load balancing issue with respect to other clients? How will my data, how will my system performance be affected? Is it possible to really have specific configurations and service levels that are specific to me to be implemented on the cloud? Is that much of customization really possible? Is it possible to have user acceptance level testing at just my piece or at just my virtual machine level? Would I, at any given point in time, need to invest more money in terms of a forced system upgrade by the cloud provider? Privacy. This is something that we have heard through the last 2 days. So I'll just spend a minute in what I think is vital. Is my data co-mingling with that of other customers? In such a circumstance, how much of my data is being leaked? How much of my privacy is being compromised upon? What is the kind of entitlement management that happens in the cloud? What are the kinds of crimes that can happen in the cloud? Information theft, fraud, hacking? What's the kind of protection that I would have when I move from an on-premise architecture and infrastructure to the cloud? So when we are talking about cloud, we have multiple customers residing on the same infrastructure, easy scalability, on-demand self-service. Amongst all of this, something which is of vital importance to me is how will my application, my resource work. So we are talking about multiple architectures. Architectures which may or may not talk so well with each other, which also means that there could be a packet or a frame loss. There could be some kind of a latency. There could be garbled messages going. How would I impact given all of this? What can I do? What can I ask my service provider to do to optimize my WAN and the network performance? What kind of a routing mechanism can I use so as to prevent the delays? Okay, now really comes the CISO's hat when I really look at compliance, when I really look at information security, how to monitor. I would really want to note it down, document it as to how the role clarity changes between, role clarity with respect to security changes from a IaaS infrastructure to a PaaS to an SaaS between me and the cloud provider. Do I have something called a right to audit clause mentioned in my SLA? If it is there, what is the kind of assertion, what is the kind of attestation that I would get from the cloud service provider? Probably a SAS 70 type 2, an ISO 27001, or something more specific if I'm in a particular line of business, HIPAA, or probably a PCI DSS. Would I, if I want to do some kind of a remote access, have a separate VPN possibly for every project? What is the kind of patch management that my cloud service provider would actually ensure me? Would there be something in the network, at the server, at the operating system, and also at the security subsystems? This is something that Mr. Stephen, the speaker before me, spoke at length about the legal, jurisdictional, and contractual obligations that the service provider and the client have towards each other, a division of responsibilities. I also would like to highlight the kind of litigations or the kind of responsibilities that we have towards the region in which we are providing the service, and also the region in which our data is hosted. Both parties must understand each other's roles, especially when it comes to a litigation hold or a discovery search, or when it comes to expert testimony. And then there are specific laws which govern cross-border data flows, like your DPA, like your ARPA, like your EU-related mandates when it comes to health records and so on. Identity and access management. Again, an offshoot of privacy. Do other clients have access to my data? If other clients are able to add more users to the cloud to access their data, obviously, what is the kind of access that they would have on my data? Is it read, write, modify? How do I ensure that they cannot modify? How do I ensure that these kind of super user privilege IDs are authenticated properly and managed properly? How about the person who actually provisions, the administrator, the information security administrator at the cloud level? How much of access does he have onto my data? Since it's a privileged ID, I would be very interested in knowing if all the privileges are given to one person. Malicious insiders, we are talking about the people who actually provision and orchestrate in a cloud environment, and possibly about the service providers personnel also, the subcontractors. So what kind of background checks are they really subjected to? Personal security, are they really subjected to before they are hired? What are the contractual terms? What's the kind of information security training and awareness that they are given? What kind of reviews are done on their entitlements? Is there something called a security breach notification process that they are aware of? This is something again which I'll talk in a little more of detail in one of the slides ahead. Some of the presentations that I heard today talked about lesser vendor lock-in. I really don't know how much of how less vendor lock-in can there be in a cloud scenario, because it's a lot of overhead when you actually move between cloud service providers. Hence, I would like to constantly monitor the licensing and support they offer, the patch management, how frequently are they managed, what is the process of managing, and what is the process of updating the patch related, vulnerability related information. What are the service levels that they offer in terms of response time, throughput, availability? Are there SLAs which are specific to applications that they are willing to oblige? What is the kind of end user experience that my users have? What would be the server and network uptime? Which actually takes us to business continuity. I am logged in with one supplier for as long as I am hosting my application or mounting my resources there. How can I ensure some kind of a supplier redundancy? How can I ensure some kind of a device redundancy and equipment failover? Is there some guarantees for performance that I can really, take him to a court for, like, can I define the RTO and RPO and ensure that he sticks to it? Can some kind of a transparency be provided by him in terms of the uptime? Can he probably furnish me with some dashboards and also some testimonials from the past in which the network has really gone down and he's been able to, bring it up within a certain time? Is there an automatic crediting mechanism just in case I have a loss because of the lack of service that the cloud service provider has, resulted in? I would be very interested in knowing where the location of my backup is going to be. What's the retention strategy? Portability and interoperability, something which I need to consider when I really need to switch between cloud providers for whatever reason. My existing cloud provider has gone bust, or probably I'm not okay with the service that he's offering. I'm not okay with the security strategy or something of that sort, in case I have to really move. That I think is too much of an overhead, and this is a plan B which I would really like to have in place as a CISO, wherein I would really consider the contract price. I would really look at the service. I would really look at all the legal aspects of moving from one service provider to another, including the data retention, wherein I would really like to know what's the persistence of my data. How would my data be erased? In what form would it be given back to me? And what is the kind of support that this service provider would really offer when I migrate to another provider? Format interoperability. Now, cloud, as we know the definition, there are 5 essential characteristics, scaling up, resource pooling, broadband network access, on-demand self-service. I really would be interested in knowing how a cloud service provider would really scale up, especially when this is resource overload, or there is very conflicting requirements or very stringent requirements from all the clients he is servicing. How much he would be able to scale up and how fast? Is there some kind of a metrics that or a guarantee that he can provide on this? Network architecture controls, I would really like to have controls that would mitigate DDoS, some kind of levels of isolation, so that it prevents attacks both from within, that is from other clients, from the intranet, and also from other sources. For that, probably one thing that I would like to, along with the SAS2, SAS-MT type 2, and along with the ISO 27001 reports, I would like to get is a pen test or a vulnerability assessment report on a very frequent basis, and some kind of a corrective action plan which they have to take these items to closure, and also proves evidences to see that they have really taken into closure. What type of virtualization is used by them? Is there a probability of an account or service hijack given the platforms they are using? Audit logs, what kind of actions are logged? Is it possible to produce these logs? Is there enough searchability in case of an incident? Would this be passed on to me by just isolating my virtual machine? What are the responsibilities that are there and defined in case of a security incident? Would there be some kind of a compensation? Are there devices like your IDS and IPS and forensics which we can rely on just in case something goes wrong, terribly wrong? A CISO would be very interested in keeping the data encrypted, obviously. Who would have the key to the encrypted data, the client or the service provider? In case there is a loss in the key, how would the data be recovered? What's the key backup and recoverability options that are available with the service provider? Is there a periodic test that would happen on this? APIs which are really very essential to access the services in the cloud, how secure are these with respect to the service provider that I'm signing in for? Is there a standardization of APIs so as to prevent any malicious attacks? Lastly, I think I would In this era of CSR, I think I would totally stress on the environmental impact, wherein I would try and see what kind of scalability the data center would have, just in case there are conflicting demands and overloads and load balancing of issues between the various clients that have signed up with the cloud. Is there something like a power distribution unit which will actually ensure temperature and humidity are controlled? Would there be a data center infrastructure management that ensures that my needs are taken care of? There is enough of scalability inbuilt into my operations, because when I'm moving, I might even move to a 100% off-premise kind of infrastructure. Can I rely on them totally? Are all the utilities capable of supporting the environment? Is there a recommended maintenance schedule, a schedule which is recommended by the service providers and by the manufacturers that the cloud service provider is following? I think I would demand some kind of a report which gives me that kind of an assurance. If at all a service, an element or an infrastructure component is really sent out for repair, how is my data really wiped away? What are the mechanisms? I would, before signing up, I think I would like to evaluate these wiping mechanisms, these encryption algorithms. I would like them to use a standard algorithm or something which is tried and tested. So the way forward, according to me, as far as cloud, movement to cloud and cloud implementation goes is this. I would, along with the business, other business stakeholders, try and evaluate what service, what resource, what tool would really move into the cloud, and to which kind of cloud, public, private, hybrid, community, which type, which deployment. A call would obviously be taken by fully evaluating the kind of risks which are associated with each of these clouds. And that decision would actually be based on my risk appetite. How much of risk am I willing to tolerate or accept? So it's all really about enterprise risk management. As a business, as an organization, as an entity, in a particular country or belonging to a particular industry, how much of risk can I really afford to accept? Based on that, I would decide my resource, the kind of deployment model, and build layers of compliance and security around it. Yes, my data is moved to a different geography altogether. It's controlled or managed by a lot of other people. I am getting dashboards, but it's more like a post-mortem once the event has occurred. But a certain level of standard wrapping around it, layers of security around it, is what will really give me that assurance that things will move on. Probably not as good as how it was at my site when I was monitoring it, but not too bad when given the other benefits that cloud has. So it's a well-informed risk versus benefit analysis. It's about end user experience and change management. Change management, the way we understand it, acceptability to new practices and technologies. I think information security officers in the past have kind of worked on a silo model wherein there's a lot of policing involved. You'll have to really go behind people and see, if things are going wrong. You need to have a lot of systemic checks. You may even get to know that something is being deployed, a new technology is being deployed, a new application is being deployed much after the deployment really happens. Probably that is not the way we want it anymore. You really want to be a stakeholder in making decisions, in the decision-making process. If that is what it has to be, then I think it has to be a joint forum when all of you come together and discuss all of the aspects of a particular purchasing decision or a deployment decision. And then you decide what needs to be done to make this a reality. Hence, the way I started saying, it's a focus on not only in technology, it's also on operations and also on people. And how fast you want your cloud to mature, cloud security model and cloud deployment model to mature, that really depends on the kind of milestones that you've set for your business. So it all goes hand in hand. CIO, CISO, the CEO, all of them work together to make this a reality. So I don't really think that CISO stands apart, and makes decisions anymore. That is what my perspective on this topic is. I would really love to hear your perspectives if that's possible. And if you have any differing opinions, perspectives, I would love to hear.
No, I was just wondering that some of these parameters that you have put, is it really possible to go to Amazon or Microsoft Azure and verify which UPS they are running and all those things?
I think this question was answered by Stephen again. Bigger organizations, they denied really flat upfront. No, we cannot. Or it really depends on the way you ask and the kind of projection that you can give on the association that you are going to have with them, isn't it? If you're really looking forward to a long-term partnership, I really don't know a reason why they wouldn't reveal it. It is tough. It is not an easy job, but I don't see any reason why they shouldn't.
Because at least some of the parameters are extremely confidential design parameters of theirs. I have a little bit of doubt whether they will share.
See,
some of them they may share.
Sure, take your point. There could be about 50 parameters that I've listed down here. At least about 40 of them, if you have some clarity, don't you think you're at a better off level than where you started off with? A better assurance. Is it? See, it's all about this. It's better than saying no to every new technology that comes in. Everybody is moving towards the cloud. So why can I not evaluate, given that I have some kind of an assurance before I start with? Over a period of time, I would develop it myself by the way the systems are run, isn't it? So I'm not sure how much, your valid point, I don't know, in the 50 points that you have listed here, 40, 45, if it works, it's a decent assurance for me. So I think I would leave it there.
If you promise them some amount of business, they might reveal some information.
Yeah, but to providers like Google, if you tell them that I want to develop an app on Google app, irrespective of how big it is, some of those things are so confidential that they may not be wanting to reveal it.
But I mean, Google is all different level. I mean, I don't think they do any customization, but maybe some bank organizations have some big project that Amazon might have a separate setup for you. So they might reveal some information.
I also don't understand what is the need for the secrecy, frankly speaking. It's about the product that you're deploying. What's actually wrong in saying is something that I don't understand. Probably they're just trying to hold the information so tight to the chest. I really don't understand the reason or the rationale behind it. But if, as he said, if you can really assure a business for a certain number of years and they can see a potential partner in you and not just somebody who just nibbles all the information away, I don't think they're going to hold back too much of an information from you, at least in terms of, assuring services, if not the product name. Any other questions or views on this?
I think it's just too early stage now, so we should not go by everything which is happening today. I mean, a lot of these things start changing by, Amazon comes with a new feature every month, so there's like no way to think that they will not change about these things also going forward. So.
Thank you very much.